It's going to be, as you can see, if you're on the website, there will be a poll somewhere, maybe over there, maybe over there. There will be a poll, what are you looking forward to in this match? Who's going to win? HTOMario or Neeb? Take your choice. Don't wait until most way through the season, through the series.
Yeah, that's kind of like, well, hindsight is 2020, right? Yeah, we're gonna head into game number 1 very shortly here. Looks like the map choice is Overgrowth again, I might add, and yeah, we're gonna get right into it.
Yep. Overgrowth continues to be one of those standard solid maps that we see in almost every single series here on Team Gravity Fight Night. Now, hopefully, we won't see another 3-0 because, maybe if you're new to Team Gravity Fight Night, you don't actually know how uncommon 3-0s and clean sweeps are, whether it be a 3-0 or a 4-0. We don't really see them that often. Most of the time, it's a back-and-forth series. Sometimes it's a big comeback story. So, lots of awesome action all the time. Team Gravity presents Fight Night.
Y'all ready for this?
All right, guys, welcome to our second series of the day. It's another best of 5 for $10, and we've got 2 new players for you. It is going to be a PvT, and it's going to start off on Overgrowth LE for game number 1. So on the bottom left-hand side, we do have here a Red Terran player. He is from Belgium, but has been residing in the U.S. for a long time now, and he is probably most famous for his mech style of play. No, I'm not talking about Avalo, guys. This is, well, his name is Davey, but in fact, it is actually HTOMario.
And if you looked at just the names, you might think this is going to be a TVT, but the man in the top right corner, he is a Protoss player. It is Neeb. I mean, I didn't even know he was Protoss.
No, this is a recent revelation for the StarCraft community. Neeb, as recently as November, was on Fnatic, and then he basically took a break from the game a bit, or maybe it wasn't even a break after all. All we know is that for a period of time, he was playing on a private account that nobody knew about, and he had silently switched to Protoss, as maybe up to several months ago, and only recently revealed it a couple weeks back when he streamed himself on the account in NA, in which he is top GM as Protoss.
Which is quite surprising. I mean, I myself, you don't see players actually switching races very often. Of course, it does happen. Sometimes it's like to random or whatever. But in this particular case, HTOMario, he's taking a look around for a couple of proxies. He's keeping an eye on everything. Probe and the SCV do pass each other. They both did check for proxies, so they're both kind of expecting some sort of devious play from the other.
Yeah, we're also going to see a Reaper come from Mario soon. This is a Reaper opening from him, so nothing out of the ordinary. Neeb is going to confirm as much. And on the topic of changing races as a pro player, yeah, not only is it rare, but also when it's done, it doesn't always quite work out all too well. I can tell you a former player of Team Gravity tried to do this. It was actually Kawaii Rice. He had quit the game for a long time, came back, started playing Zerg, and just wasn't working out too well for him, and left the team after about a month. And wow, Neeb killed off that SCV there.
All right. I mean, that's a nice pickup for Neeb indeed. Now we'll have to see if Mario is able to get any damage done with this Reaper. It's scooting its way across the map. On the follow-up, we've got that CC and the factory, so it is going to be potentially the start of that mech that Mario loves so much.
Oh yeah, and we all know how mech goes. It's a slow takeover of the map. You basically plant your flag in various territories and just secure it and never let go. That's kind of the way it works for mech. And that's why I am very hesitant to call who will win this game. And all of you guys have been voting in the poll saying you think it's going to be HTOMario. And I have no argument against that. Because the thing is, to play PvT against mech, you have to have a lot of experience dealing with mech because it's not very common. It's not something you run into a lot on ladders. So if you don't have a lot of experience dealing with it, you're bound to not make the best decisions. And with Neeb making that switch to toss so soon, does he have that experience? I don't know.
Yeah, it's certainly a question that needs to be answered. We do have our first engineering bay on the way, as our robotics facility is also going to be finishing up. And of course, if you're playing against any sort of mech-ish style, that robo facility is going to be so important. Do you think he's just going to go straight Immortals the whole time?
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some capability to metagame HTOMario here, as we are going to see that Reaper focused down by the ranged gateway units. But yeah, I mean, HTOMario doesn't deviate from his script ever. And so that is one thing that even without a lack of experience playing Protoss against mech, you can still kind of use to your advantage. And yeah, perhaps going into that robo early may be a sign of that. But yeah, we're not going to see Neeb go for an early harassment via Oracle or Blink. And he may not even need Blink because he's not expecting drops.
That is a fair point as well. Now, we do have Hellions at the front base. Ooh, if they target down these sentries, that could be a nice win. Looks like one sentry went down there. Force field does fire off, trying to keep those sentries alive, also forcing the pop of that photon overcharge. 2 Hellions will be able to escape, and I guess they traded out for a sentry, which is, 3 probes as well. Isn't the worst trade ever.
Yeah, that was it's always nice to take out sentries of Protoss, not just because the fact that force fields are annoying and whatnot, but because they're so expensive. And when TOS spends gas on sentries, that's gas they didn't spend on tech. And a big part of playing TOS, especially in PvT, is keeping up with your tech, staying ahead with your tech. And you can't do it if you're blowing on sentries that die.
Yep. Now, we do have Drilling Claws coming out pretty darn early from our Terran player, but that is, it's to be expected. With a guy named HTOMario playing, he's going to be loving his mech. It is not that surprising at all for him to be going for that. Now, you did mention drops a little bit earlier. We'll have to see if this one is able to do any damage, as it is picking up 3 Marines and a Widow Mine. Not a terrifying drop by any means, but it is going to be heading out to the right side of the map.
Indeed, we are seeing a Twilight starting right now. Robotics Bay just finished up for Neeb, so he's going to start cranking out Colossus. And, yeah, I mean, this drop, it's only half a medevac, but it's packing some serious firepower in that Widow Mine. We'll see if HTOMario can make it work. And as far as Widow Mines, I mean, hell, like, they do so much damage to TOS. Of course you're going to take advantage of them if you're going Terran. So it's on Neeb now to defend this.
Yep, in the main base, he's dropping those Marines and the Widow Mines at the natural expansion. He was doing a little bit of damage to the probes there, and 2 more probes do go down. Maybe not the best trade since the medevac does get eliminated, and I don't know if there's actually an observer in range. There is an observer here, and it will reveal that Widow Mine, eliminating it. That attack could have gone a lot poorly, but HTOMario, he's like, hey, round 1 didn't work too well. Well, round 2 is coming in on the left side in just a few moments.
Yeah, I mean, this is all about Mario trying to buy time to basically keep Neeb at home, keep him on edge, while he at home is trying to get his macro going really heavily. Because after all, oh my gosh, this medevac's going to be sniped before it even gets to that natural. So, yeah, so much for keeping Neeb busy.
Yeah, Neeb was like, oh, thank you for that. I will take your gift of a full medevac. 2 Widow Mines were packed in there with some Marines. Now, we do have the 3rd CC going to be on the way. Should be finishing up momentarily here from our meching player. And, I mean, he's turning it immediately into an orbital. Triple orbital. Terran is something that people like to talk about quite a bit. And, uh-oh. Mario, what are you doing with that SCV over on the right corner of the map? Could we see
a lot of minerals?
Could we see, like, a fast 4th?
He's got a lot of minerals.
I mean, this is like he's going 2 command centers at this point.
Yeah, now this mineral count is advanced far beyond the clue that we were trying to drop. But
yeah.
You know what? We're having some business going on here in the main base of Neeb. Let's not focus too much on that fort. That actually did just go down. There is Colossus coming out for Neeb, a 2nd robotics facility finishing up as well, and he is in fact getting Blink. just because I guess Widow Mine drops are a thing. They have been, so not a bad idea to get Blink out for those Stalkers after all. And, well, Mario is doing what Mario does best, starting to hit the tank button quite a fair bit. We did see some people in chat talk about the lack of tanks in the first series. Well, you wanted tanks? Here they are, guys. They're all over the place.
Oh, these Widow Mines at the third base for Neeb. They get dropped. The probes immediately pulled to evacuate that out. But in the natural there, may end up firing a little bit more success. 10 workers go down. Probes shattered in their homes as even a couple of these Widow Mines may end up being able to escape. But that medevac is so low on HP. Oh my word, oh my, no.
Oh, that Widow Mine gets off a massive shot on those probes. Neeb was controlling his army, not pulling back the probes there. Thought he could get to the Widow Mine in time, but unfortunately for his sake, he's lost 24 workers just in the last 60 seconds.
Wow. So he is not going to be feeling very good about that. Mario is going to be feeling great, even though the Templar Archives are on the way. He's like, I've got a fourth base on the way. I just killed off so many probes. And, of course, he's been able to macro to his heart's delight. He has taken basically no damage from Neeb throughout this game. Mario has been the one that's been on the aggression.
Yeah, Mario just keeping it up with those drops. The first two did not work, but third time was a charm, and then some. But now, looks like Neeb is starting to push forward a little bit with just the Colossus. Nope, not fully committing to that. But, you know, the thing about playing against mech is you actually have to be the aggressor. It's not the mech that's supposed to be the aggressor, because really mech is the turtle type. They want to slowly take their bases, and you have to deny the bases of mech. And if you're not doing it, the mech is going to just slowly take over until there's almost nothing you can do.
Yep, the attempt at Hellion run-by shows that Mario continues to want to be the aggressive one in this particular game. He's been pretty darn active, all things considered. We haven't seen too much coming out from our Protoss player, but we'll have to see. Maybe Mario is going to be able to get some serious damage done other than those Widow Mine drops. For now, he hasn't really been able to do a lot other than that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw just a blue dot go across the map here. That was a hallucinated Phoenix, and that might have been the first unit out of Neeb in a long time that headed across the midway point of the map. Now he's again going to play on the defensive here with these two Hellions. Blue Flame, I might add, going after these probes. That's a few more probes going down here and there. 27 workers killed in total now by Mario, and he is really putting on the hurt as far as the economy to Neeb.
Wow, these Hellions getting all in everywhere in the main, in the natural, dealing 11 more probe deaths as Stalkers finally are pulled to deal with that one Hellion in the main base, getting himself quite a few of those 11 kills. And oh, Neeb, things are going bad to worse. He's still maintaining that worker lead and the army supply lead for now, so he's not out of things just yet. But as the game progresses on, he may find it difficult to crack the mech army of Mario.
Yeah, I will say this. I mean, Neeb has been keeping up with the probe count, but that means he's been putting more resources into replacing those lost workers than he would like into other things like building his army, getting his upgrades. Right now it's 17 minutes. He still does not have any armor upgrades in his name, just +2 attack. And in the meantime, Mario, if he's not putting the resources into the numbers of units, he's putting them into defenses. Missile turrets all over the place. We got sensor towers. This is where mech just really entrenches itself and starts to hunker down and turtle for a very long time. And as toss, it's hard to break.
Yeah, I mean, Mario, he's got like 80% of his army supply turtled. The other little percent is running around the map in the form of those Hellions, trying to do what he can, when and where. He's not really having a lot of luck with it as of late. He did have a nice couple of attacks there, and now he does transform into Hellbats, going to be moving into that third base location since the fourth was pretty well kept, while at the third of Mario, Siege Tank line is nearly impregnable.
Yeah, absolutely. So Neeb now is going to go straight for that fourth base. He'll have a better time attacking this. SCV repair, always strong. But guys, that's a lot of Archons going after that planetary, and it does evaporate. Now Neeb is going to have to try to find his way out of here. Not going to be difficult because of, well, the Master Call.
Yep, that was the easy answer for Neeb. He's like, hey, I just keep my mothership core alive. I just make sure that there's no problems there, and then suddenly snipe a base, move on out of there. Of course, Mario has plenty of cash to drop on more command centers. As you can see, 3 are on the way, and he's even transforming the one which is kind of at his like natural ramp, if you want to call it that, transforming that into a planetary fortress. Yeah, Mario, he's playing kind of a mix of the turtle mech style with, you know, more active mech. But, oh boy, we got ourselves a fleet beacon and some stargates.
Yep, Neeb being close to max here is going to start putting his extra resources into transitioning into that ultra late game tech, that end game tech, perhaps you can even call it. Raven, first one out here for HTOMario, landing a secret missile on. I don't even know what that was. Was it
on that
I think
wall.
Observer, was it?
If it was, I didn't even see it.
I think it might have been an Observer.
Yeah, quite.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
But anyways, Neeb transitioning onto probably Tempest here. He's adding on Templar, Storm right now. He's mostly used Templar up until this point for Archons, but Storm is on the menu for him soon, and that's going to help out a lot in getting some of that AoE damage on the softer units like the Hellions and such. Although for tanks, it still may not be as helpful.
Yep, for now, the upgrades continue to be led by HTOMario. Oh, the Widow Mines that were over on the right side are going to get some shots off, clean up 3 Stalkers that were over there. Not too big of a deal, but now at the gold base, that Archon Colossi Immortal army is fearsome, and it is keeping Mario away from that gold base, while our Protoss player, he's expanded quite heavily, taking himself pretty much every base on his side of the map.
Yeah, and really the name of the game now is for Neeb to see if he can deny that gold base as long as possible from Mario, as well as that base underneath the main on the left. And if he can stay ahead on the base count, he can wear down Mario, but it is an easier task than done. Oh my gosh, the storm on those Banshees combined with feedback hurts them deeply, but they are still alive momentarily, and Neeb cannot break this entrenched position just yet.
Yep, and this is where the power of mech that you were talking about, that turtle mech style, is just so incredibly difficult. Even on the very right side, those Widow Mines are going to be giving Mario every opportunity to stop an attack over there. And then, of course, you've got planetary fortresses and a lot of tanks in the middle. There's just not very many openings for Neeb. There's hardly any spots at all that have any weakness at all.
Yeah, Neeb here, he probably will not be able to take out this gold anytime soon, but if he can deny that left base that Mario hasn't tried to take, it'll be a good look. In the meantime, he's breaking down this defensive wall here. The planetary fortress is gone. These Immortals are doing major work, but they're basically sacrificial lambs now that the Banshees have arrived.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if he's looking to trade out some of his supply to make his big air transition, as we've got 6 Tempest on the way. He's been working on his air upgrades for a little while now. Currently, air attack level 2 is on the way. He's got his air armor on the way. And of course, this ground supply isn't going to be as useful.
Oh, yeah, Neeb having sacrificed those Immortals as you suggested, Cyber. HTOMario senses an opening. He knows he has a decent amount of army units now to make a push. Is it enough, though? Because the Tempests are starting to pop, and oh my gosh, massive, massive damage done by those tanks on the ground army, vaporizing so quickly. Storm's going down as well, and, well, now the Tempests are here.
Yep, the Tempest are here. That medevac giving some vision for Mario to do what damage he can. And now the army has been, well, it's been worked down a little bit, but battle cruisers are on the Remax versus Tempest as a base gets completely annihilated there by HTOMario.
HTOMario dropping down those PDDs is able to intercept a lot of those Tempest blasts, which will buy him time to run. He's transitioning to battle cruiser and Thor right now. I'm not sure if battle cruiser is the best choice from him, though, because battle cruisers are massive units, and Tempests do extra damage to massive units. So it's a hard counter. I almost would prefer to see him go Ravens here, because Ravens can drop those point defense drones, intercept all those blasts from the Tempest a lot easier, like we just saw. But he's going for battle cruiser instead. I don't know how that's going to work out for him.
Yep, we've got a massive Zealot run by, which at many other stages of the game would be absolutely terrifying. In this case, I'm not sure how much damage it's actually going to get done. There are a couple of units here for those Zealots to slice up. 10 SCVs in total have gone down, but Mario should have a fair number of orbitals still out around to provide those extra mules for his economy. However, a lot of these supply depots getting chopped up. This may actually become a bit of a problem if too many more of these supply depots go down.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Mario has been expending almost his entire bank trying to remake his army, which he can't even get to max right now, while Neeb is mining off of his 6 bases, no problem whatsoever, and about to deny this gold base.
Yeah, so somehow, some way, Neeb is finding the power necessary to overcome the mech of Mario. Now, we do have the Mothership Core just finishing warping in there, and once again, the eco advantage is going to be going to Neeb as more and more of these bases are sniped and denied, and more of the old bases, the main, the natural, and third, are starting to get mined out for Mario. These probes, man.
Yeah, those probes are being sacrificed by Neeb. Being at 80 was a little too much. Wanted to have a little more room for some of the Tempests he's continuing to make. Now, HTOMario has those Thor in their special mode to attack air units. Is that going to be enough? We're seeing these battle cruisers now push forward. Tempests are trying to focus down on them as quickly as they can. Mothership is keeping everything cloaked. This is the big battle we've been waiting for, guys, and it looks like Neeb is having the upper hand in it.
Yep, eventually that Mothership does go down. The Tempests continue to reign supreme as they're annihilating almost everything on the ground, and the mech player falls down to 60 supply in army to 100 of our Protoss player. Even these battle cruisers won't save him. Neeb takes game number 1 as the GG gets dropped.
GG indeed. 29-minute game. Often, actually, that's kind of short when we're talking about Mario games, but yeah, I mean, Neeb putting on a great endgame clinic there, transitioning fully to Tempest. Honestly, I think Mario did not go for the right endgame composition. You went for battle cruisers and Thor, both of which are massive units, hard countered to a complete T by the Tempest damage bonus to massive army units.
Yeah, and on top of that, he had a lot of supply tied up in tanks, which just never did anything once that, like, initial Colossi Immortal comp just kind of got traded out. We didn't see the same sort of supply trading from Mario that Neeb was doing, where he was like, oh, I need better units for this scenario, so goodbye useless units and extra probes. Hello, Tempest and Mothership Core. Well, Mothership.
Well, you know, even if he wanted to, he just didn't have the economy to do it. Neeb was able to keep Mario on 4 bases, shut down that gold, never allow Mario to take the base on the left, and Mario couldn't even max out again at the end. He just didn't have the money to do it. So that's a big part of mech, is making sure you confine them to, you know, to a certain end of the map, not let them take any additional expansions in the late game, and you'll just basically starve them out.
Very true. Given everything that has been said, are we at all surprised to see HTOMario, or HTOMario, choose Deadwing? Because it is loser's pick, for those of you watching who don't know. Loser does get to pick the map, and Deadwing is the next one. I don't think anyone's surprised. I'm not surprised.
Oh, yeah. We've mentioned this ad nauseum on this stream about how Deadwing is really one of the best turtle maps out there. And, well, I think we can all see what's going to come, right?
I mean, it's possible that there's some sort of metagaming on this map. It does happen from time to time, but that's not the standard. And, of course, sometimes we do end up seeing those just cross-spawn games that go on forever and ever. This could be one of those times.
Yeah, we'll see. We're heading into game number 2 right now.
Yep, another TVP, and of course, lots of players, lots of people don't get to see Mech versus Protoss. Maybe game number 1 was an example as to why. It's not just practiced quite enough. And apparently, Protoss players who don't necessarily play against it a lot do know how to deal with it quite well.
All right, here we are. Welcome to game number 2, guys. In the time that we could have had a game number 4. No, I'm just kidding. That first game wasn't actually that long. 30 minutes is pretty short for Mario. I actually remember casting a show match between Mario and Puck. Oh my goodness. This was on Waystation, I believe. That game just took forever. But you know what? Mario just massed Widow Mines and nothing but Widow Mines. And in an hour-long game, killed off Puck. So maybe we'll see that here against Neeb. I don't know, but let's talk about the players involved. Map is Deadwing LE. We do have the blue Terran player on the bottom left. He was not able to close out last game in a victory, but potentially in a long game number 2, maybe he'll get on the board. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have the mech extraordinaire. It is HTOMario.
And in the cross-spawn position, our red Protoss player, he is Neeb.
Now, last game, Neeb played a really methodical game. And anytime I see a player play like that against Mech Terran, I have to commend him because it's so tempting to just really, run, jump the gun and be impatient and make a huge game-ending mistake. You really have to macro hard and then just sort of find the right moment at which to attack your opponent. And then just in one fell swoop, we saw Neeb get a Zealot run by in the heart of HTOMario's economy, shut down those 2 bases towards the center, and was able to replace his army faster and in a more superior way with those Tempests.
Yeah, I mean, Neeb just made the better unit composition choice. Now, Neeb has gone for the earlier scout. We'll be figuring out that Mario is actually in that cross-spawn position, while it was gas first for Mario. And of course, this doesn't always mean it's going to be into Banshees with some sort of cloak, but it can be indicative of that. We'll have to see exactly where Mario goes, but Cloak Banshees wouldn't be no surprise at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways you can open off of that 1-1-1. Last game, it was a variety of Widowmine drops that didn't pay off in the beginning, but eventually did, as they took out, to the tune of 30 workers or something like that in the 3rd try. So
yeah,
we'll
close
see.
There.
Yeah, so we'll see what Mario decides to do with his 1-1-1 opener. It looks like he's starting off with Hellions here.
Yep, going to be the choice and a much, much later expand, so we are going to be potentially seeing some pretty heavy mech-oriented aggression from Mario. Of course, we'll have to pay attention to exactly what time he decides to drop down that expansion, but this is the 1-base 1-1-1, kind of in contrast to what we saw Nero do with the 1-1-1 in the previous series versus Mysticism. But we do have the 1-base version of it, and of course the expansion for Toss was at that much quicker timing, which is, again, standard for Deadwing.
Yeah, I'll have to say. The Nexus is about to finish up for the toss, and Neeb once again goes right into Robo. You know what? Going into Robo is a very defensive style of play because you're not going for anything aggressive early on. It worked out for him last game, but there were some mid-game struggles in defending that aggression from HTOMario. But I guess I guess Neeb is very confident in his macroing capability, and it paid off because he was still staying high on his probe count last game and really weathered the storm as far as all the harassment from Mario.
Yep. Now we do see that SCV poised to take that expansion right there from Mario, as already probes have been transferred from the main to the natural for our Protoss player. Just to give you guys an idea of how far this is delayed. But the equalizing factor is these Hellions. Can they get some serious damage done? They have the potential to, but it's going to depend on Neeb. He really has no idea that this is coming, but he should expect something like this.
Well, now he knows it is here. A couple of probes are going to die immediately as they are lined up. But before the Stalker can get out there, these Hellions are going to run away and not venture into the main. In the main is, in fact, a robotics bay working on getting that Colossus tech. And, well, Hellions are back again, and the remaining probes will probably die.
Ooh, at the same time, we've got that bit of a drop in the main base. Who said Mario doesn't like Marines? Well, they might be a little bit wrong as they focus down the sentry. No, it escapes, and now they're just getting slaughtered as he picks up, tries to snipe off that sentry. I don't even know if it's worth it at this point, considering how many Marines he lost. Now, 9 probes did go down, which will certainly help even up that economic standing between these two players.
It will help work towards evening it up, but it's still far from even. Neeb is on 2 bases right now, leading by 10 workers. Mario, in this matchup, decided to take that expansion a lot later and doesn't even have a second orbital ready yet.
And he did burn, Mario that is, did burn a quite curious scan in his own base. I'm not sure what it was because there wasn't like an observer that could have been there. I don't think so. But it's possible he was maybe really skittish about DTs or something. Ooh, more Hellions rushing in here. They get 6 probe kills as that second volley kills off 3 more, and now 9 in total have been eliminated. These Marines brought along for that extra bit of damage output, and still more probes may go down. There is still power in this attack.
And, you know, Mario never wanted to give up. Oh, I heard a Widow Mine Blast go off, and that was a pretty hefty one. Now we're looking at 21 workers killed by Mario, and this is starting to become the damage he expected to do with that 1-1-1 opener, and he's still not done. That drop is heading around back to the main again.
Yeah, not many games happen where you kill 21 workers of your opponent, and they are still 4 workers ahead.
Yes, while that may be the case, Mario has bought himself enough time here to get a 3rd command center up. And we all know what happens with Terrans on 3CC. That's a lot of mules, and they're going to have superior mining.
Yep, that income tab will eventually start favoring our Terran player, as it already is in his advantage. But our Protoss player, Neeb, showed that even though in the last game he was down on eco for at least part of the game, and certainly the economic harass from Mario is proving quite strong in this game, similar to the last game, that doesn't always matter because Neeb in the long game was the one who won out previously. So maybe he's looking for a repeat of that experience.
Well, he's repeating a lot of things that he did last game here, playing on the defensive early on, working on getting Colossus, though, in the meantime. And, well, just playing a safe style of play as Toss, trying to outlast the Terran, which is kind of the name of Mario's game. So, if anything, that's kind of how Mario would prefer it to go. So,
Ooh.
I don't know. Seeker Missile, though, going on this mineral line. Probe not being pulled off. Oh, my gosh. That was, a feast for the eyes if you're rooting for Mario.
Indeed. 8 more workers going down. Our total is almost a 30 probe killed ratio. And that is just the start of the fun, because now we've got a 7 Marine drop going to be coming in. And of course, this is Mario, so it's not like these are 1-1 Marines, but they still have the potential to do even more damage. And yes, they will do that extra bit of damage. Not a lot. 2 more probes do go down, a total of 10 in the most recent time.
Oh, man, the attacks have just been relentless from Mario once again. Mixing in drops everywhere around Neeb's main base. He even had a Banshee going there for a bit, had to pull it off. Oh, that drop did get picked off by those stalkers, so that's a good start for Neeb in trying to actually hold off these darn things. Now he's actually looking to put on some pressure, pushing out to the center with just a couple Colossus. I think he's tired of all this damage being dealt him, and he knows that he needs to start dealing some of his own if he wants to be competitive in the mid-game.
Yeah, and Neeb now is going to be, if he doesn't do something like you were talking about, just falling so far behind in the income, because we recently had 2 more CCs finishing up. They're morphing into orbitals right now, and of course, this is Deadwing. There's 20 bases, but 4 of them form a little pocket, which are relatively easy to take. So 5 orbital commands with 4 mining bases is a powerful, powerful mech Terran.
Yeah, and much more powerful than a two-base Protoss here that we're seeing out of Neeb. And really, Neeb is falling behind in every way now. Overall supply under by 20, workers under by 11, bases under by 2. He has no choice but to push here and try to do damage. But with these tanks in an entrenched position, is the refinery going to be the only thing Neeb can take out? Let's find out.
It may very well. Hellbat's coming forward. The boys have been pulled off the line to help him deal with this. One of these Colossi is, of course, a hallucination and dealing no real damage. But the other two are very real, and the Stalker count is pretty high, but it's not necessarily the numbers that he needs. Only 12 Stalkers to break this many tanks, all sieged up, and, of course, the reinforcement line from the Terran.
Neeb finally goes ahead and takes a third base here. Mario, even though he has a lot of CCs, he's only mining at 3 bases right now. So he's not running away with it just yet. But Neeb here is still inching probably to put on some more pressure as he is transitioning to Templar Archives right now and getting Blink as well. Looks like the drops have subsided for now, but looks like there is a harassment going on in the natural. Banshee is taken out, though, by that Photon Overcharge.
Yeah, 2 probes, not exactly the best trade there for Mario, but considering the sheer number of workers he's killed overall, those extra 2 probes will not go amiss. They've got lots of buddies, well, dead probe buddies, to join. So 34 have been killed. Psystorm is on the way, though. We do need to mention that because there were so many engagements in the last game where Mario let units get clumped up incredibly, and Storm did massive, massive damage.
Yeah, the Storm really played a huge factor last game. This game, we see Neeb going for it again as he is finally securing that third base mining. But this time around, Mario is actually quite a fair bit ahead here in the army supply. And in realizing that, perhaps, Mario is now looking to actually push out with all these tanks.
And in some sort of weird trade, neither one of these guys have gotten any attack or armor upgrades, and we're almost 17 minutes into the game. I mean, the first upgrade is going to be finishing up +1 vehicles for Terran relatively soon here. Some Hellions do get eaten up by this Protoss army over at the Watchtower. An additional Hellion will go down there. Unfortunately for Mario, trading away a few too many units considering what he was actually able to get with them.
Yeah, Mario able to get revenge by killing off that Stalker. Now he's going to push forward with these tanks into that Protoss territory. We do see 3 Colossi there from Neeb, going to help out greatly in dealing with this tank advance, but with these tanks now sieged up, Neeb cannot quite engage them just yet.
Yep, on top of that, we've got the 3 missile turrets and a sensor tower, I think, also going down on the front line there. He's even wallied off with... Is he actually going to let those finish? I'm not actually sure. The Protoss will have none of that, as there's one Storm, maybe not fantastic. The other Storm's going to be raining in on the tanks, and the Colossi doing some damage, but the supply is maybe overwhelming here for Mario as he crushes through this Protoss force.
Indeed, he is able to finish off the Protoss army, but he has lost a lot of tanks in the process as well. He cannot quite unsiege and press forward just yet, but he is starting to rally some reinforcements over. Neeb left with just Blink here, not quite going to cut it in dealing with these tanks. And Neeb himself needs to start massing up some reinforcements because Mario, now with his reinforcements here in those Thor, can probably start pushing forward soon. Oh, actually, he's going to siege up behind this third and harass that mineral line.
Yeah, which, I mean, not something you necessarily see very often in TVP, but he cleans up an extractor. He's keeping an eye on the army as well with that scan and the sensor tower, which is really quite nice. And more Hellbats, Thors, and Banshees on the way for Mario. Also cleaning up, I mean, a relatively respectable number of workers.
Indeed, looking at the number of worker kills, it's 40-8. My goodness, that is
man.
so much killed by HTOMario, and so much for Neeb to have replaced. Yes, it's an even number of workers, but not an even number of army units. And you can see that in this last battle. GG from Neeb, and Mario now is on the board. The score is 1-1.
Yeah, evening things up, keeping alive the tradition of fight nights not being clean sweeps. And of course, in this case, Mario, love him or hate him, he is going to be taking it back. And of course, evening these score up, which means in this best of 5, we're going to be guaranteed to see those 4 games. So I hope you guys have got your beverages. I hope you guys are ready for this series.
I've got my beverage right here. And really, you know what? Love him or hate him, he's bound to be around, and for a long time because the games are always long. But this was a 20-minute game.
Yeah,
the previous was 30 minutes. It's actually kind of under his average, I'll say.
They're not tremendously long, and they do have a reasonable amount of action, from Widow Mine drops, even Marine drops in this particular game, Seeker missiles, harassing mineral lines. Mario is keeping things interesting, he's keeping things aggressive, he's keeping things active.
Yeah, and I'm curious when in this upcoming Game 3 if Neeb will start playing a little more aggressively. He's been the one who's been defending more, if anything, throughout the early stages of a game. Maybe if he mixes in an Oracle harass, maybe he does a Blink harass. Hell, maybe he'll even do an all-in. Either way, though, something will have to change because even in game number 1 that he did win, he lost a lot of stuff throughout the game. And generally speaking, that's not a recipe for success.
Yeah, maybe in that one game, because of how long it went out, Neeb was just able to make that better trade. But in this game, where it didn't go quite as long, we didn't see the Tempest transition. It was more that fight that Mario would have liked to take. That economic difference that Mario was able to make certainly played a bigger role. And I liked what you were saying about maybe he should go Oracle, maybe he should go something else, because why would Neeb, going into this show match, if he's ever heard of Mario, he knows he plays mech, why would he play to the strengths of Mario? He should be like, okay, you want to play mech, you're going to be doing something towards the longer game. Oracle opening is probably going to be really effective. That would kind of be my thought process. Well, I'd like to see him switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, and with this map pick here for Game 3, this is funny because we're going to be playing this on Vani Research Station, which historically is a map that Terrans like more, but a Protoss is actually picking it for this matchup, which is like almost never the case. So maybe Neeb has something planned here.
He might indeed have something planned. He may also just like the map, and considering Overgrowth and Deadwing have already been used, maybe he doesn't want to go to Catalina, which is also a familiar map. So he's like, hey, Vani Research, that one's all right. I quite enjoy it. But whatever his reasons are, we will have to wait and see. Of course, thank you all very much for joining us for the Team Gravity Fight Night. It has been a good time all around, and we've got more matches coming up after this Best of 5 series concludes. It is Sulky versus Lenok. You don't even have to like ZVZ to like that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about 2 top Koreans, one of them having at some point ascended to the very top in Sulky, GSL champion, guys. That's not someone you normally see for a show match, but just seeing it on Hitbox. And as far as this Game 3 goes, guys, place your votes now in that poll. HTOMario or Neeb taking this on Vani Research Station. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's probably because you're watching this on the embedded Team Liquid stream, in which case you are missing out. Don't make that mistake. Come over to hitbox.tv/teamgravity. Participate in this amazing chat with all these animations, GIF images, emoticons, the polls. And if you subscribe, you'll be able to post those GIF images. So we'd really appreciate that. What we get from the subscriptions, we use to help finance future show matches as well. So if you can contribute to us, we'd really appreciate it. And thank you in advance. And don't forget to follow us as well here on hitbox.tv.
I don't think subscribers can post GIFs, because I think we got in trouble for that last week.
Oh, really?
People were trying to post GIFs. I think it's just mods, which is reasonable because, I mean, people could, of course, post all sorts of terrible, terrible things in GIF format. But at least there is GIF support. So if the moderators are on top of their game, if they're tossing out those cool GIFs like they should be, you will be pleasantly entertained to have them just integrated right into the chat.
Well, you know, while I don't want to be accused of false advertising, I'll tell you this about the subscription. You do get a G2A coupon for $5. And G2A is a website where you can buy video games, including StarCraft. So if you want that second account, $5 can go towards that. And given that the subscription is $5, you're already getting your value back immediately. So you have that going for you.
Yep, a special promotion is going on. I don't know how much longer that's going to last. It's been going for a little while, but it could be running out soon. I mean, I don't know the details of that. Of course, I'm Cybert. Droopy was kind enough to let me join him here, but the wonderful man behind the scenes is at Curran TV. He's the guy that ties everything together, that makes it look good. We don't control the overlays, we don't control the camera, and of course, neither Droopy or myself could do quite as good of a job as Curran does, but he's not the only behind-the-scenes guys, because of course, Team Gravity, the management back there, which, Droopy, I know you're a part of that to some degree, but those are the guys who are actually getting headline players like Rain, Fantasy, Supernova, Sulky, Leenock, and other players, I mean, Puck, Neeb, HTOMario that we've seen today. These are the guys who are actually arranging this stuff, that are working those hours behind the scenes. So a special thank you to those guys putting everything together.
And we are now moving into game number 3 here. It's going to be on Vonnie Research Station. And a pick of the Protoss, curiously enough. Maybe we'll see some more Prism type stuff in that back natural. I don't know. But Mario's going to have to be ready.
Yeah. I feel like an active, some sort of, multi-prong harass sort of style from Neeb would be quite good. I don't know if he's going to do that. We did see a little bit of that in Overgrowth, our first map. He was doing a bit of that, attack at the gold base, run by with Zealots other places, or run by with Immortal Archon, if that's what you want.
I guess something has happened here. We're going to rehost it.
Yep, there we go. So, a little bit of a problem there, folks, but we will be rehosting, no problem, easy peasy. Just a few more moments. So our lovely observer is going to have to restart StarCraft. It will be just a few more moments, but once again, you guys can, of course, vote who is going to win game number 3. Personally, I think it's going to be Neeb. I think he's got the power as long as he switches things up. And we've mentioned this a couple times. We keep coming back to it because, again, I think that Neeb should be identifying what Mario is doing. He should be identifying what the strengths of Mario's play are and then be playing to the weaknesses of Mario and really hitting him with DTs, Oracle, Blink Stalker, 2-base sort of play. There's all sorts of different things that Mario can be susceptible to earlier on that Neeb could be pulling out.
I'm still gonna. I don't have the gravitas that you do to go ahead and make that prediction. I think it's still too tough. It's too tough. I mean,
too tough?
I think it is because Neeb won game 1, but he just lost so much throughout these 2 games. If he continues suffering these kinds of, early mid-game economic damage, he's not going to be able to, keep it up and win. But that said, like you mentioned, he can switch things up. Choosing this map could be a sign of that. So if he does indeed, switch things up, be the person who's behind the 8-ball putting on the aggression, hey, maybe he will be able to turn things around very quickly, and I could be wrong. And I guess 70% of the chat as well, because 70% have voted for HTOMario.
They do agree with you. Now, of course, these players have shown that they are to some degree an equal match for each other, but Droopy, you've mentioned a couple of times the amount of sheer damage that Mario has been able to do, and that is a very important point, because in a lot of other matchups, that much damage followed up by some fast, like, say, Marine Marauder pressure, which, of course, Mario wouldn't go for, would have ended the game for Mario so much earlier. It's because he's going for a more slow, methodical, I'm going to build missile turrets and sensor towers near your third base sort of play that these games are going on longer, that Neeb is having an opportunity to come back. So you may very well be right in your prediction, and you make some very good points.
Yeah, let's find out. We are starting to load the game once more and head right into game 3 on Research Station.
Yep, a little bit of a compression there from you, Droopy. Hopefully things don't go south.
Yeah, if you guys remember, unfortunately, during that headliner last week, I started having issues, and this is kind of how I started. I really hope that's not the case anymore. Otherwise, I'm going to be missing some games here. But am I still breaking up, guys?
Yes, unfortunately, but let's get those intros out of the way.
Yeah, let's just do that. So we do have game number 3 on Vonnie Research Station. It's the Blue Terran spawning at the very top. He was able to claw back from a 0-1 deficit to now even things up. We do have here the mech player, HTOMario.
And in the southern position, our Protoss player who dropped that last map, but it's still 1-1. Can he make it happen in this best of 5? He is Neeb! Ooh. 13 gate versus command center first. Or it's some Terran build that I have no idea what it is.
That's looking like a command center first. I think you're right. I mean, he is starting to bank up the minerals. He is moving that SCV over. And it is definitely different than what we've seen from Mario, who has generally been opening up with 1-1-1 to start off these games. But he's going to play a little more greedy here. And you know what? If Neeb were to play, say, Oracle, that could be a good opening for him.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could. He does have that probe heading out for this scout, and sometimes this probe is pulled off to the side to be a bit nefarious. But the second pylon is being dropped, and in the main base, he's got the cybernetics core as well. So it's not necessarily going to be into some sort of proxy Stargate. We'll have to keep an eye on this probe, see exactly where it follows up with after this scout.
Yeah, probe is going to head into that natural. I mean, even if he didn't go to the natural, seeing how late that first barracks was pretty obvious that we'd be looking at a expansion first. And, well, Mario knows that his opponent realizes it, puts out the crying face, which Neeb is like, what? What are you talking about?
And then he's like, just stop scouting, man. I don't want you to know my build. It's almost like cheating. But Neeb is banking up those resources. He's got that probe positioned, and there is the expansion getting dropped. Well, I mean, that probe and SCV, they're still having a good time in Mario's base.
Yeah, it definitely does look that way. This probe, really, because Mario went for CC first, he has no offensive units out to deny scouting. And now that the lights are finally flashing on that barracks, Neeb is making his exit. And Neeb, for now, is going to expand as well off of this Mothership Core opener. The Mothership Core does take out the scout of HTOMario. And it does look like, for now, Neeb is going to chase the Terran on base.
Yeah, now Mario moves out with his Marine. He's wanting to take a look around. So important to identify that, yes, there are no immediate proxies. There are no immediate problems for Mario to deal with. But there of Neeb, he's going to be dropping it down in a somewhat secluded position. It's not exactly hidden, but it is a little bit further away from the main gate.
Yep, so it is a Stargate opener, which is exactly what the doctor ordered, in my opinion. We'll see when that Oracle does finally come out. In the meantime, though, we are having Mario start cranking out Marines 2 at a time here from this reactor barracks. We also have a factory finishing up with a tech lab, as well as a starport on the way for him, too.
Yeah, I mean, he got that extra barracks, which is something we haven't seen him do in any of the previous games. He's been more playing that traditional mech style. You get the 1 racks, and then it's just factories after that. So, potentially, we're going to see some sort of drop-based play, which Mario has been liking his drops. He has been liking his aggression to some degree or another, but in this game, it might be even more prominent than in the previous.
Well, first Oracle is about to pop out here for Neeb. And, well, that's going to be an opportunity for Neeb to get some damage done in the first few minutes of a game, which is something he hasn't been able to accomplish in games 1 and 2. Now, Mario, what kind of defenses is he going to have ready? Well, let's take a look. He does have a Widowmine buried in the natural mineral line. He's got plenty of Marines as well. So the Oracle is going to have to be microed pretty well here on the part of Neeb to make sure it can actually do some good work.
Yeah. 2 SCVs for a start. Not great, not terrible. Of course, an Oracle wants to pick up at least a couple of more kills. 3, still not exactly what he would like. Ooh, might be able to pick off a couple more before the Widowmine fires. Ooh, nice skating on that ice, and just barely outside of the range of that Widowmine. Neeb is just having a bit of flawless control with that Oracle.
5 kills so far, not taking a single ounce of damage. I have to say that's pretty flawless indeed. Oh, but that changes things, almost flying into certain death there. But the Oracle still is able to get away. So Neeb, I guess I jinxed him for a bit there.
Yeah, he was not too happy about that. Took some pretty serious damage, but that Oracle is still about. Now, the Stargate after that has just been pumping Phoenix. Phoenix, of course, not something that necessarily are going to be seen in every TV or PvT game, but they can be good at shutting down medevacs. They can be good at shutting down that aggression. And, I mean, okay, Mario, he's dropping down a missile turret. That's cool.
We are also seeing some Phoenix come out of Neeb here. Real Phoenix, guys, not fake ones. And so he may be looking to press forward with some more Sky Toss harassment in addition to that Oracle. Another thing, too, is even if he doesn't use those aggressively, he could deny some of those pesky drops that have really been working Neeb thin in the last 2 games. Phoenix, in particular, are very helpful on this map because that natural is in such a vulnerable location for drops. So we see a little switch up in Neeb's unit composition for sure.
Yeah, now Neeb poking back in. That missile turret that Oracle will not be pushed away by any sort of missile turrets that are not in correct positions. However, it did pick up 3 more kills, bringing its total up to 7. And of course, those kills were just on SCVs building a couple of buildings there. One of those was the 3rd CC.
Yeah, it really is added up. I mean, taking out the SCVs building those buildings, yeah, it's not the huge kill you expect when you just move onto a mineral line, but it's 9 workers killed now. And that's more than what Neeb has been getting these last few games. And guess what? Mario hasn't done any damage to the Protoss economy either.
Yeah, we do have the first big push out from Mario. Neeb does have Phoenix able to snipe down that Raven. Easy peasy. There are quite a few Marines here to supplement this army. Now, Neeb needs to be careful not to trade away too many of these Phoenix because they can be very, very useful as this battle goes on. But with the 3rd base on the way for Neeb, it could have been a prime target for Mario. It's not actually just yet.
Ooh, that tank gets zapped at by the Oracle on its way down, and the Phoenix do finish it off. A couple Phoenix do die in the process too, but you know what? The existence of the Phoenix is enough to scare Mario off, and you know that's definitely an understandable thing because even though the Phoenix are limited by the Marines on the ground, had Mario attack that 3rd, we'd be looking at Photon Overcharge and Warpins. Also, this Colossus is about to pop here for Neeb as well, so I think it's prime time that Mario abort that attack for now.
Yep, it looks like he's following your advice at least a little bit there, as he has pulled back pretty much all the way across the map. He's going to be waiting for a bit more support from his units. Now, Mario has been loving this build your 3rd in your main base early and then expand much later build. He has been doing that quite a bit. The Oracle took a bit more damage as well, but it managed to skate by once more, and that Oracle has just been... It's been courting death for, like, almost 5-6 minutes now.
Yeah, and the best part about keeping it alive is you're going to be able to use Revelation on the army of the Terran. You're going to be able to continue to harass when the Terran least expect it, when he's busy microing his units or something. So no reason to ever just abandon that Oracle. In the meantime, these Phoenix, though, just keeping an eye on things. And what a difference going Sky Toss has made in the beginning of this game. Neeb having map control with these Phoenix, with the Oracle, keeping Mario at home. Mario has done absolutely no aggression this game.
Oh, yeah. Kind of a contrast to the last couple of games where, like you're talking about, Mario was the one doing the aggression, Neeb was the one taking the damage, and certainly the damage done by Neeb in this game, 11 SCVs, is not near the magnitude of the damage done by Mario in previous games. There's the scan on the in-base times why you see that scan. In this case, I guess it was more of just an information scan, but sensor towers have been thrown down. Mario is looking to set up camp.
Oh, and in the meantime, Neeb is going to go ahead and take a fourth base. I mean, he is comfortable to the point where, you know what, I'm getting so much map control with these Phoenix. I've confined Mario to basically 1/3 of the map, so I'm going to expand. And he's taking advantage of this opportunity right now. And he's actually pulled ahead in the supply this mid-game, 158 to 143, and ahead in the economy as well. With this Stargate, map control, Neeb has been able to give himself an opportunity to let his really strong macro pull through here.
Yeah, and another similarity to some of the previous games is that we have this upgrade list style from Mario. He doesn't like getting attack or armor upgrades, and now again, it's going to be like over 16 minutes when these things actually finish. Neeb, on the other hand, in a contrast to the last game where he hardly got any upgrades himself, he's working on +2 weapons for the ground and +3 armor, which is, of course, a much better situation than he was in last game, but we'll have to see. Mario is still in a very strong defensive position. It's going to be a hard position to crack.
It is, but you know what? If Neeb can, kind of like almost in that first game on Overgrowth, deny any additional bases for Mario. Because remember on Overgrowth, he was able to eventually shut down that gold, never let Mario take the base on the left. That forces a Terran player to really be in a situation where if they lose their army, they don't have the money to replace it. So if Neeb here, even if he can't break this right now and take that third out, I mean, he can still confine Mario to these 3 bases, and that's going to go a long way in Neeb being able to outlast his opponent here.
Yep. And in a similar fashion to some of the other games, we've got more and more command centers being added on. Neeb is trying to take a 5th base over at the gold, but there is a Marine waiting for him, going to be shooting up that probe a little bit there, and Neeb should be able to clean that up, no real problem at all. The same time, we do have lots of Hellions on the left side for Mario. This could be the start of that aggression that he has liked so much in the previous games.
Well, he pokes at that pylon a bit. Neeb putting up that pylon, a great idea, not necessarily for a proxy warp-in, but sometimes pylons can serve as great scouts around the map, and he benefits from it here. Now, these Hellions are going to get in here and get some probe kills, but the Colossus is around, the Immortal turning around to help out, should be limiting the damage that can be done here. Does look like Mario's going to get off 6 kills, though.
Yep, 6 kills, a nice start there. Not necessarily the same sort of devastating damage that 6 probe kills is in, like, say, the first 5 minutes. So, you know, as we're nearing the 20-minute mark, maybe not as big of a deal, but at least Mario is trying to do something. This has been definitely the most turtle mechy style that he has played. The other games were certainly a lot more active, but this game he is really just committing to the turtle mech style.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and Neeb right now is just controlling the map. I mean, he has had his army out more than the halfway point for the last maybe 7 minutes now. He's now moving in with these Phoenix. A couple of them go down to all these missile turrets. He's trying to lift these SCVs. He's going to get a few of them, perhaps sacrificing the rest of the Phoenix in the process. But he is getting off some good kills there.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's worth it, well, maybe he's just actually trading off those Phoenix to get in some more units. I don't know. He's at 192 supply right now.
Oh yeah, I would be very surprised to find out that he intended to use those Phoenix later in the game. That was most likely just a supply trade out. He's maxed out, or he's not maxed out. He's added on 4 more Stargates. So he initially had the 1 earlier on. He's added 4 more. He's added the Fleet Beacon. This is the same sort of thing that we saw in game number 1 on Overgrowth. The difference was there he was trading out Immortal Archon. Here he's more trading out Zealots and Phoenix.
Yep. But this time around,
Oh.
Mario has done, oh my gosh. That's what I was talking about. It's the Ravens.
Oh.
And the Seeker missiles will land on one High Templar. Maybe a little overkill.
I've never actually seen someone storm Seeker missiles like that. In this case, it's actually pretty darn effective as it burns up all of the Seeker missiles and even some of the Marines.
Yeah, I mean, Seeker missiles are a unit that you can storm, guys, and well, Neeb has defended against them pretty well, just like that, but there are still more. Oh, the feedbacks on these Ravens, though, changing that, and Neeb is able to push forward onto these tanks. The tanks can't stop all of this robo infantry from Neeb, and Neeb has just cleaned up that army and has broken it.
Yeah, everything gets annihilated. Neeb with a commanding lead now, 83 army supply to 48. The upgrades so much in his favor, and the follow-up is going to be tremendous. He's got that gold base established. He can start mining from there whenever he wants. He's been up on bases in comparison to Mario for the entirety of this game almost, and that last engagement went so well for him.
Oh my, and you said upgrade advantage. That is staggering. 3-3 for the Protoss. Actually, 3-3-1 for the Protoss, because there's one shield. The Terran 1-1 at 23 minutes. That's not exactly what you expect in late game.
Yeah, I mean, Mario, that upgrade list style, I don't even know what you call it. Mech versus Protoss, I guess is what you call it. But it's not necessarily working out as well in this game as it was in the other game. And yeah, we've mentioned the one aspect that is really different in this game versus the other games, the harass from Mario. It's not happened in this game. It did in the other games. Massive harass in the other games, none in this game, and now Neeb is just in an insanely commanding position.
Yeah, and I mean, 78 workers to 50 now for Neeb. He's on 5 bases. Mario confined to the 3 here. And that's what makes it tough for a Mech Terran player to get the gas he needs to replace the lost units. He's stuck on 138 supply, 3,000 minerals. Unfortunately, all you can make as far as Mech goes is Hellbats. That's not going to take you far enough in the late game, guys.
Hellbats versus Stalker Colossi like this with the Immortals worked in, or the Archons worked in as well. Storm raining down on those area units. Nice spread of Seeker missiles, but they don't do very much damage. And now Neeb is just stomping all over the remainder of the units. GG is called, and Mario drops in the 3rd game.
Oh my goodness, Neeb was in total command throughout that entire game. It was a complete turnaround from game 2, and what a difference starting with Stargate makes.
Yeah, we did indeed say that mixing it up could be the road to victory. It was in that particular game. Mario did not play to the kind of differences of that game. Neeb did. He was like, hey, I'm going to mix things up. Mario just kind of floundered, tried to do the exact same thing, but with less harass. Of course, that was partially because he had taken that damage earlier on. But it just, man, that was such a better game from Neeb.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, that's the thing about long series as opposed to one-off ladder game, right? When you're playing one series of games, you have time to make adjustments throughout. You lose a game, you change up your strategy a little bit. We've seen Neeb done that. Now it's on to Mario. Can he make adjustments to his game to sort of defend against a Stargate opener? And if he can do that, we may see ourselves heading into Game 5. If not, well, this match point may decide it.
Very true indeed. Now, in Terran fashion, when Mario has gotten the option to choose the map, he went for Deadwing first, and now Catalina. Not exactly a surprise when you consider the source of those map choices. Catalina, known kind of as drop heaven for a lot of Terrans. We've seen a lot of Reaper play work out very well in TVZ. What will Mario go for in TVP? I have no idea because it's Mario and I'm not that familiar with Mech versus Protoss, but there's all sorts of things that he could do. Depending on how the spawns work out, we may see some heavy elevator play.
Yeah, indeed. Catalina, always a good map. So we'll see. But we're heading into Game 4 now, guys. If you haven't voted in that poll, I think it's even more confusing for you guys now to decide who's going to win it, because it has been back and forth. But we'll see if Mario can put up a fight here in match point.
Yep, and it's going to come down once again to who does that damage early on, because so far, that has almost been the deciding factor in these games.
All right, game number 4. Here we go. It's on Catalina LE, a choice of the Terran. And we are first, though, going to look at the Protoss that's playing in the 1 o'clock position. He was able to change things up, switch it up to that air opener, and boy, did it pay off for him. And yeah, even HTOMario is making reference to that. So he knows, too, that things have been different here. But game 4 could change things again. So Blue Terran spawning at the very top. It is going to be Neeb.
While in the south, our red Terran player representing Team Ascension, he is HTOMario.
All right, so it's Catalina. Now, last game, another thing that contributed to HTOMario's passiveness, in addition to, of course, the Stargate harassment, was the fact that he went CC first. The first few games, he opened up 1-1-1. That allowed him to get the units he needed to put on pressure. You open CC first, though, you prioritize economy, you delay that army macro, and necessarily you put yourself to defend. So maybe Mario may go back to what worked for him in the earlier games.
Yeah, that's a very good point indeed. Now, once more, our Protoss player being the one leading in the scouting game, he's going to take a look at what his opponent is doing a little bit more quickly, and he is going to see that it's the start of that potential 1-1-1. Now, we don't know exactly what the follow-up is going to be. I mean, maybe Mario is going to go into some Reapers, but it could just be more for that 1-1-1 that he's been favoring much more.
Yeah, it looks like it is going to be a quick factory here for Mario. He's making a Marine, just a Marine from that first barracks to maybe deny that probe from scouting anymore. But right now, we are going to see both players momentarily stay on just one base.
Yep, no, not any expansions just yet. We do see Neeb potentially preparing himself as he banks up those resources, but the factory is on the way. The reactor is on that barracks as well. Things are looking a lot more standard for Mario in comparison to games 1 and 2. You did mention that on Vani, he did go for that CC first. Of course, that is likely a byproduct of the in-base expansion, making him, just a little bit more comfortable with that CC first opening.
Yeah, now he is still on one base here, as Neeb is going to be the first person to take an expansion. Last game, he did expand first, or at least before he went for a Stargate too. So we'll see if he still decides to drop a Stargate next. But for now, he's going to be working on that Warp Gate research. HTOMario getting that starport now.
Yep, just completing his 1-1-1. This is going to be the one base variant of it, which we saw, I believe, in game number 2 on Deadwing, which ended up working out quite well for Mario. Of course, he did fantastic harass damage, and he'll be looking to do something similar, I would think. He is pooling up the Hellions inside of his main base.
Yep, he's starting to work on Hellions. Going to turn this into a Hellion drop. Interestingly enough, it's not going to be Widow Mines just yet. Probably not enough gas for that. He is only mining on 1, so really limited Vespene to go around for your army units. But you know what? A Hellion drop, a run by, whatever you want to do, could be interesting. At any rate, it's going to be a lot more damage done than last game, which was none. So we'll find that out. But it doesn't look like Neeb is going for Stargate this time. He's actually gone ahead and went right into Robo.
Yeah, we'll have to see how he's able to deal with these Hellions with what units he has. There's the start of the command center for Mario. So he is going to be following this up with some 2-base play, not 1 base all in, nothing silly like that. And, well, there's a Widow Mine eventually on the way, but here's that elevator that Catalina is known
on most Marines and Hellions, but the Photon Overcharge immediately activated, limits the entrance of those units into the main. The Natural, not much to attack. No probes here, so long as Neeb can micro the Stalkers well, there's no reason he should be losing too much.
Yeah, as long as, like you said, he micros the Stalkers well, this entire attack has been shut down. It didn't do the damage that Mario had wanted. And I mean, if we take a look at that unit's loss tab, there's just one probe on it. So Neeb is in quite a fantastic position in comparison to some of the other games, but that's not the end of it. If Mario has showed us anything in the last couple of games, it's that he can harass throughout the majority of the game. He's not just limited to, like, you know, early game harass into meching and just staying in his base, but we could end up seeing another Raven harass go down.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing Mario has done is give up early on these drops. I mean, he'll try again. You can bank on that. But for the time being, Neeb is going to be the one running away with it. Huge probe lead right now. Huge supply lead overall. Mario needs to do damage here. He delayed his expansion to make this attack. It needs to pay off in some way. He's starting to make this lift of 3 Hellions into the main base. Marines maybe perhaps going for the bottom base, and this 2-prong attack could be something.
Yep. Now, the Mothership Core is present. It does have enough for 1 Photon Overcharge, but not 2. There's the drop of the Widow Mine. The medevac gets cleaned up, easy peasy. A couple of probes do go down there. 3 in total have been eliminated, but now the Marines are starting to push in at the Natural, and this is where the next stage of damage could come from. Goodbye, Sentry, as it does get eliminated. Probes are the next thing on the menu for this attack. 5 of them have been eliminated, and now the Marines are getting cleaned up, and that is not necessarily the devastating damage as we look at that 13 worker lead for Neeb.
Yes, and the overall supply lead reflects that as well. Mario, in the meantime, has finished up a 3rd CC, is turning that into an orbital, so he does have that going for him. He has created himself a window in which he can outbase the Protoss, so for a moment in time, he will stay competitive in the mining thanks to Mules, and we'll see him start taking place with that, heavy turtle style, perhaps. He's starting to make a tank now.
Yep, he's also adding on Banshees, like we've seen in pretty much all of the games. One of them is making its way over to that 3rd base location for our Protoss player. Forge is added on, as well as the Twilight Council for Neeb, and, well, we'll have to see how much of this Banshee harass does, because this could be the start of the evening of the score for Mario.
There are 3 observers out on the map. I see 2 out in the center, out of place to deal with this Banshee. That said, though, there's no cloak anyways, so I guess we don't need observers after all. But can the Banshee sneak in some hits here? It's in a prime position to do it right now. It's going to get at least 1 kill. Probes being pulled, and now the Stalkers have arrived to chase it away.
Yep, and there is an observer at home, so even if there ended up being cloak, but there's Seeker missiles at the Natural. Yes, those are some probe kills. 11 going down, and both units escape. The Banshee in the north, the Raven on the right.
Oh, man. And remember, the last thing Mario does is give up. He did not give up there. The drop didn't work, so he comes with 2 other kinds of air units, and the Seeker missile hits were devastating. That evened up the worker count greatly, and with 3 orbitals, I'd say the income tab is favoring Mario right now.
Yeah, he's actually going to be making use of that 3rd orbital relatively soon. He's actually going to be turning it into a mining base. And then at this point, Mario tends to add on like 6 more command centers sooner or later, which, I mean, I would not be surprised to see. He's adding on a couple of more starports as well, and he was so happy with how that first Banshee went, he's like, I'm going to try that again. Also drops an auto turret over at that 3rd base.
This time around, he is getting cloak. We'll see if that comes into play later as far as harassing mineral lines. But we are seeing additional starports here for Mario as well. So he might be starting to add Vikings to his army. Hasn't quite gotten them just yet. And now, well, that mech production is starting to really kick in for the Terran.
Yep, he's also dropping those sensor towers, which he has been loving in every single game. And that mech production, I mean, you were not kidding in any way. He's been producing off of these factories, off of these starports for quite some time, and he's starting to get up to that scary mech force, leading in the army supply, and of course, more Banshees, more Hellions on the way.
Yeah, and Neeb is adding on a lot more gateways here. Starting to crank out Colossus bit by bit. He's got his third base up and running. Not too much harassment being done there as of yet. So, you know, despite losing a lot of those workers earlier, he is keeping up by all means. He's not fallen too far behind.
Ooh. Yeah, on the left side, we have a sneaky pro. Oh, we have some Hellions on the right side, though. That sneaky SCV can wait as 8 probes do go down. And on the very left side, that command center does begin. Over at the 4th base, that Marine is trying to do something. Whether it'll actually do anything, I doubt it.
Oh, man. And here goes a ninja expansion. And the irony of it, too, is that Neeb has sent a stalker out over to the bottom left in search of a 4th base. That's just not the base that Mario took. He is expecting fully a 4th base at this time, but he hasn't found it just yet. And he's got to be curious about it, I have to say. But now we are seeing Neeb push out with this army. Nope, he is going to back off. We got a bunch of Marines heading over to the left and starting to make way to attack this 4th Nexus.
Yeah, we could see a bit of a dual-pronged assault with Marines on one side, Hellions on the other. As the Marines will be dealt with quite easily by this triple Colossi and lots of Stalkers over at the 3rd base, though. The Hellions are starting to get into that mineral line once again, roasting some probes. 7 do go down. There are Stalkers here for the defense, and these Hellions, they're trapped now. There's really nowhere for them to run as the Stalkers collapse in. 10 probes is all they're going to get, and he trades out, I think, 6 or so Hellions. Yeah, some of these harass, I don't know if it's actually very cost-effective for Mario.
That, I don't know if you noticed that, but that was a beautiful warp-in from Neeb at this base right now. That cannon and that pylon created half a wall, and he warped in 2 more Stalkers to trap those Hellions and keep them from running around the back. That was sick. That was such a great defense. And even though the Stalkers weren't finished, just in the process of warping, they already blocked the path. That was awesome.
Very true. I did end up missing that. But, again, Mario is not liking upgrades. He just wants to play this, like, upgradeless style, which, again, we do have Neeb commanding in the upgrades, at least in the attack upgrades, as the mech upgrades do finish there for Mario. And once again, Psystorm is on the way. It has played such a critical role throughout the entirety of this series.
Yeah, I think it's just that the mech is so expensive. You're dropping down all these factories and starports, and everything you make costs so much gas that it's hard to get up that double armory upgrading going on until, well, it's this late in the game, essentially. I mean, now he is starting his 2-2, which is just as well. I think Neeb is only upgrading on 1 forge, so basically, you know, Mario is not going to be behind in the upgrades in the near future, I'll say that. But as far as workers, though, he's been just putting in the work, guys. 37 workers killed this whole game to only 2 from Neeb, and Neeb is now looking for some payback on the bottom.
Yeah, he snipes down that command center, which was out that kind of potential 4th or I guess 5th base location. Neeb is able to escape on out of there with the majority of his army. Doesn't really take any losses there. Now, of course, Neeb still doesn't know about that Ninja Expo on the left side. He hasn't quite figured it out just yet, but he is poised to potentially do some damage near the 3rd or the natural of Mario.
Yeah, Neeb needs to be on the ball here and realize there's just no way Mario does not have a 4th right now. I mean, he did just deny a base there, but it can't be just it, and Neeb should be starting to look around to see it is Catalina. It is a popular map for ninjas time and time again. This Hellion, though, is just sitting in the back with red health, but still poking at these probes.
This is something that Neeb has unfortunately suffered from in previous games as well, where he just leaves a few too many units still awake, still alive. We do have a big warp in of, well, Dark Templar and Zealots in the main base. They're going to snipe down the armory, denying that +2 vehicle attack, just completely shut down. Armor is going to be shut down as well, and Mario is scrambling to deal with this. He has Banshees, yes, but he's going to have to burn at least a couple more scans.
Oh my, this is absolutely something that Mario did not expect, and this is a huge snipe. Both armories going down. That limits the kinds of units you can even make as well from factories. And the upgrades now, yeah, they are going to be in favor of the Protoss. And we are seeing these units finally be cleaned up by Mario, but that was a really valuable drop there from Neeb.
Indeed, and at some point, I think these ninja expansions from Mario are just going to work their way into being regular expansions, depending on how he decides to follow them up, but we've got a potential 5th base finishing up for Mario. He's once again going into battle cruisers, but we've got more and more Stargates being added on for our Protoss player, and he's of course getting those upgrades. He's getting the fleet beacon as well, which is going to be fantastic for him, but in the middle of the map, almost the engagement that we're looking for.
Oh man, and you know what? This time around, in contrast to game number 2, or game number 1, was it? Yeah. We are seeing a lot more Sky Terran earlier than Neeb has been able to transition to those Tempests. So right now we're seeing the players dancing around here, avoiding each other's storms, each other's... oh man, that is huge. My goodness.
Oh, these storms are incredible from Neeb. No, it doesn't take the most skill in the world, but they're doing so much damage, and now the Stalkers are finishing off the battle cruisers in an incredible engagement. At just a few moments there, Neeb storms his way to victory against a mech Terran. What a play with Neeb and these storms. They are just too good.
Oh, they are. I think Mario may have transitioned to Sky Terran too soon, in fact. We're not just looking at Stalkers. We also got Archons, and those are the tanky units that can really withstand Sky Terran as they just go right under those battle cruisers and start doing that area of effect damage. And now Mario's at a complete loss. Half the supply of Neeb, and whatever units he's trying to make take forever to actually produce.
And Neeb is pushing further and further ahead. He's transitioning into that Sky Toss like you were talking about. The upgrades continue to be a cemented lead for Neeb. There's the blink forward as he's targeting down one battlecruiser after another. GG! And Neeb takes the series 3-1 versus HTOMario.
Wow, that was really well played at the end there. I gotta say, I actually for a second was concerned that Mario had transitioned into that Sky Terran before Neeb got his Tempests out. But you know what? Those storms, like you said, Cybert, they made the difference, and then the Stalkers took over.
Yep. And normally you think of Storm and you're like, oh man, that totally wrecks Bio. Well, when your mech is that clumped up and it's Sky Terran, it does untold amounts of damage to those units stacked so tightly. Wow, that series back and forth, not something you see every day, with HTOMario bringing the mech from Team Ascension and Neeb able to take himself that $10, but those bragging rights as well.